What is up? Welcome to Mangalku, YouTube's only manga book club. As always, joined by Josh and Jose. This week we did Faiapanchi, and we did a little bit of an addendum. Normally, Mangalku, every other week, we choose a new series and read like the first 3 to 4 volumes, usually 4.
Yes.
This one we did a bit of a pivot and read the whole series because it turns out it's over at 8.
Yeah.
They're slightly smaller than what we normally read because, like, normally I feel like the shorter, the thicker, where they're like a little bit thicker.
Yeah, very much.
And
so.
these like I think they're called Viz Signature. They're kind of taller, skinnier.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit less. Like the first volume fucking flies by. So we did the whole series. We get the whole story. We're checking out the whole thing. And Faiapanchi is by Tatsuki Fujimoto, which you may know is the author of Chainsaw Man, which is insanely popular now.
Yeah.
Yes,
like
sir.
insanely. So what we like to do with Mangaku is we first like to do kind of like a spoiler-free kind of review. Did we like it? If there were more to read, would we continue reading it? And then we move into the full spoiler, talk about all the events, what we thought of the ending, whatever. So starting off with that, I do want to make note, we only have 3 volumes on the table. Normally, I try to get all of them.
Yeah.
And whatever we read, we can have them all on display, whatever. The first volume is back-ordered to F.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm not even joking when I say like it's so incredibly backordered. Like June is like the date that they think they're gonna get any more of this thing.
We're in the middle of May now.
Yeah. So
But you were these like way ahead of time.
Yeah. A month from now when you're seeing this is when they say they're gonna have more. So unless you want to
Jesus.
play double the price, you can get one now. But if you don't,
man.
Shonen Jump, their own website, I think it's like $1.99 for a
Yeah, I
subscription.
pay $2 a month. Yeah.
You get all of their digital vault, which is crazy. The reader is totally garbage trash.
Yeah,
But they do have a ton of series you can pick from, and this whole series is on there for $1.99.
And that's how me and Jose read it. I downloaded the app. That is not one for one with the website.
yeah.
Like Faiapanchi doesn't exist on the app. Read it through the website.
Oh, so the series just straight up doesn't exist on the
No,
app.
there's
okay.
Punch and One Punch Man
Interesting.
and Fire or something
Punch
like
and
that.
I wonder if they have different rights for like if you can
Actually,
read it
that
on
would
the
make
phone
sense.
or
I'm
not.
just gonna make a guess. They're lazy as fuck. That the app, like the reader is hot garbage, like really bad.
Even on the website, it's not very good.
No.
Like a lot of this, we'll call them sketch websites because Mangadex leaked my fucking info. So they have options on how you want to read it. It's like, do you want the full thing presented to you?
so nice.
Do you want one page at a time?
Or
Do you want to do the
scroll.
scroll, like where it's really close up, high quality? You get those options. With official readers, you're like, no, fuck you. You're going to get the side by side and you're going to fucking
bad.
like it. And you're going to have all of the options constantly on your screen so the picture's even smaller.
I had to switch to the iPad just because it's bigger, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
that's smart.
this is the
Smart.
best way for me to do it.
I read on my phone, and there was a ways to minimize everything, so it wasn't terrible.
Oh, nice,
but
okay.
It's still pretty garbage. Like, yeah.
So about the series, what did you guys think? Did you like it? And if there was more, if this was some long continuing shonen, would you want to continue reading it?
I'm glad it's done.
Okay.
And
so
I mean
that I know you didn't like it.
it's one of those. It was put together very well. It hurt. It was Goodnight Poon Poon, but with action. Like it hurt me by the end. Like it was the classic Josh reading a bunch in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. finishes, goes like, fuck, I'm not gonna sleep with that. Like my heart hurt.
So you did like it.
I did like it, but I'm glad it's over. Like
Okay,
it
Jose?
shouldn't have gone anywhere.
I'm the same way where I liked it. I thought it was all right, and then the end, I'm like, oh, why you gotta hurt me like this, man? But
So, like, Faiapanchi is a bit. I don't really want to summarize Faiapanchi in like the spoiler-free portion of it because one of my favorite chapters was the first chapter and seeing like where it was going from
very
there.
good.
So I don't want to spoil that for anybody else because I went into this knowing nothing about this aside from, hey,
same.
I've seen it come into the store a few times. It looks cool. Might as well check it out. And then I was even more excited when I found it was by the Chainsaw Man guy.
Yeah.
So I went into it totally blind and I loved the first volume.
Yeah.
Had we stopped at 4 volumes like we normally
It's a
do.
completely different.
Oh,
story.
Yeah,
completely
right?
different. I would have
Holy
been really
shit.
lukewarm on this series. How we started at 4, it would have been like, ooh.
I still liked it, but I would have been like, okay, where are we going? But yeah, I almost wanted to, because basically Sam kind of skipped over the idea of us reading volume 1 through 8 instead of 1 through 4. I was being threatened. It was, you want to get some favor out of me? Fuck you, read 4 through 8 or 5 through 8 or you don't get this. So I am glad that you twisted my fucking entire arm and broke it.
I honestly, totally, I liked it. I thought it was good. There were a couple parts where I was like, I'm not super hot on. Specifically, I think had we ended it at volume 4 and we would have had the normal like, hey, would you want to continue reading this? I would have been like a no.
yeah,
I would have
same.
been like, nah.
I agree. The
I'm-
middle of it was completely
It's like I'm kind of good.
It just plateaued for me.
Because you don't get any sort of payoff until the end, and then you get like the big grand payoff, and it's like okay, cool. Yeah. But the rest of the time, it's like you said, it's kind of like a constant beatdown. Like you're just like, oh, yep. They kind of take the norms of what you're used to in like these shonens and all this other stuff. Like we're not doing that in this story. This place is fucked. It's a post-apocalyptic bullshit. Enjoy that.
You know what I thought of the first chapter though? I don't know if it was just like it almost felt. Not amateur, like not in a rude way, but it almost felt like I was reading one of the Jump to Zukas. Like it was like an original, like nobody wrote this, and it kind of felt weird. There is some like
I thought
exposition.
That was refreshing.
It was nice, but at the beginning, it felt like some exposition like was forced on you. But I just realized throughout the whole thing, like one of the major things is the narrative is kind of all fucky. Like you don't know what is the truth, and shit just kind of happens, and you're like, oh, I get.
Yeah, there's times where it's like they kind of have like these, I don't know, illusions, delusions, and like. Did that happen? And then it's like it takes a couple pages where it's like, ooh, that happened. Okay.
And so classic situation for me is I read something and don't absorb like 30% of it, and then I come here and I get fucking roasted by you two because it's like, and I was legitimately like when I finished panicking because I was kind of blowing through it because it is a quick read.
Very easy. Very minimal dialogue.
Yeah, it was. Some of the artwork was, I mean, obviously the art's gorgeous, but it was like very confusing, and I think that lends
sort of
to
a 2-page artwork. I was like, ooh,
yeah.
It's like okay,
yeah. But there was some scenes because it's all black and white, and not to spoil it, but there's a lot of fire because the fire scenes are fucking like insane to kind of keep up with. Like I have no idea what
just
the fuck
talking about like super cool, like fire, as in the term like badass.
Yeah, like it's a cool punch.
Sick punch, bro.
It goes along with hand in hand. It's actually the sub-sequel to Punch, which was on the Viz Media app. There's a whole 3 volumes if you guys want to add that. But yeah, it was super good. It was just kind of like fuck. It was like I said. It felt like it was somebody else's work. Like it would Jump to Zuka work. Like we were reading somebody.
How do you feel about the fact that we keep jumping from like some super ecchi manga to like some super depressing bullshit?
I'm okay with it because it's stuff I normally wouldn't read.
Yeah.
As a yo-yo dieter, it's just fitting perfectly in line with me. Like it stresses me out because I was like reading this, I was like, oh, this is kind of dark. Like it is very dark.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
just.
Like the beginning concept, like the whole first chapter. Holy shit, that's fucking dark.
I fell in love with the first chapter.
Yeah, it was very
I read that.
Awesome.
I was like, holy fuck, this is different.
Like we talk about, like you're talking about Tezuka, which if anybody wasn't following our channel, there was a contest. There was the Shonen Jump Tezuka where you can submit a one shot, and you kind of have the chance to get the grand prize was getting your entry into Shonen Jump. It's like a one shot, and so we talk a lot about like what makes a good one shot, what is a good introduction, like. A one-shot, it should be the first chapter to your manga. Like, that's what's drawn people in.
Your pilot episode.
And we always talk about Naruto. Naruto, the first chapter is crazy good. Does such a good job. If you ever want an example of a good intro, check out Naruto.
If you haven't
if you want an example of a bad intro, check out Samurai 8.
Made by the same author.
Alternatively, this first chapter was crazy good.
Yeah.
So well done. And it's the classic first chapter. It's a little bit longer than all the other chapters. And it does such a good job of... If you want to know, like, hey, am I going to like Faiapanchi? Just check out the first chapter. If that doesn't sell you, you're not going to like it for sure. Yeah. But if that does sell you, then yeah, definitely.
I would also say that the first chapter does not describe the entire thing.
No, not at all.
I'm just
saying, it is like this.
So many turns.
Yeah.
It is a good kind of test for whether or not you will be liking it.
So since we can't read further, I would say off of this, I want to read Chainsaw Man.
Oh, like, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
I was getting since off the app, or not the app, I was getting that suggested every time I'd go to a next chapter. I was like, tempted me to just read it right now.
It's supposed Chainsaw Man is supposed to be just fucking amazing. Like I haven't heard a lot of people talking about Faiapanchi. This has been like out of my circle. I haven't really heard anything about it. Like I said, I literally chose it because I just see it come to the store and I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about this. One of the commenters, I wish I knew his name of the last video, was like, yo, Faiapanchi is really good. You guys are going to like that. And that's the first anything I heard about the series. And he's the one who's like, oh, it's by Chainsaw Man guy.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Because I think we finished 1 through 4. I was basically saying, like, I'm tapped out. I can't read more. And then I finally just said, fuck it. We weren't going to read 5 through 8, and you brought up that it was the Chainsaw Man guy after. And I was like, oh, okay, fuck, maybe. And then it just kept getting suggestions like, oh, I'm going to have to read this now. But I'm kind of hesitant. Like, can we get an ecchi before we go into that? I can't.
So ecchi, then go to fucking depressing, then go to
around.
shonen.
We just hop the genres.
Why don't we come back to that fucking witchcraft, the printing press one?
No thanks.
No, thank you.
How about the one that's basically hentai that we did?
So.
The Deuces.
Yeah. Okay, well, we beat around the bush long enough, so that's the spoiler-free review. We obviously all very liked it. It is very dark and depressing, so kind of.
Do you guys think this would be better as an animated movie or just an anime?
A movie.
I feel like it gives me more of a movie vibe.
I think it should be an anime. Like
Really?
it should be a solid. I want to say
Like
24, but I don't think it's enough. I would want a solid 24 slog of an anime where it's just like. It's because it is a journey.
Yeah,
it is a
quite
journey,
the
and I
journey.
want it to be a fucking depressing slog for 24
I hate you.
episodes.
Well, it's 83 chapters, and
Yeah.
I would say if they do 4 chapters per, that's 21. They
Yeah,
could throw in
could pad
filler.
it. They
Oh,
could
yeah,
pad
they
it.
could pad it.
definitely.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah,
this season.
that's
do
what
that.
I would want. So obviously, I get the gist of a movie where it's like maybe if they did multiple movies, I'd be fine with that.
I think 2
because
movies would be perfect.
There are like little breaks and
Yeah.
stuff, so I would be nice
Yeah.
to maybe multiple movies, but I want like a 24 episode depressing slog.
He's just gonna hate himself at the end of this.
That's how I would do this.
So, like, the first, 20 episodes of Hitman Reborn?
Oh.
Okay, don't talk shit. Might do that.
But I agree with Jose. I would like it because Sam's probably his head will explode when I make this comment. I've been watching Fire Force, and I fucking adore it. If they got the people doing the fire from it and the person doing the audio from Fire
What about
Force,
the person who did
for
the fire
Faiapanchi?
for Rengoku?
Oh yeah, fuck, do that, and then fucking have the audio guy.
Yeah,
from,
just have 3 studios work on it.
Seriously, but I'm the Fire Force audio guy. Put him on this. It would be gut wrenching. Like it would be your slog. It's so good.
Okay, so we're going into spoilers now. If you don't want any spoilers for the series and you just want to know should you actually read it, obviously the answer is yes. We're going to move into really in-depth stuff about what we thought about it, what we thought about the ending, what we thought about all the character development, everything. So you've been warned. Starting off from the beginning, the first chapter I want to talk about again. I fucking loved the first
Go
chapter.
into detail with this. I love just the hook of it.
I did not know anything about this, and they start setting it up where it's like it's a post-apocalyptic world. There's this Ice Witch character who's frozen over all the world, so there's like a potential for a grand adventure. They're gonna go take down the Ice Witch.
Yeah.
They showed they're living in this really like starving little village, and they are feeding human flesh to people that they have to cut off his own arm.
So
It was a wild ride in those
they
first couple
introduced
pages.
the Blessed, which are people with powers,
Yeah.
and our main character, he has a regeneration power,
Yeah.
and right away you just see his sister chopping off his arm, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It is so good, and it's like you can tell. I get both points of this argument that they're having because it does come down to a lot of this manga is like, what is it to be human? Like, where is the line?
The spirituality
drawn?
of it.
Like, when do you go from being like a hero to a villain? Like, what is the line?
Oh, that line is gone.
That was
So they talk about that, and obviously, like, eating other humans is like a big no-no. Like, it always has been a big no-no.
But in this term,
yeah, you see right away, like, so they're delivering his limb, and there's the one old man who refuses to eat the body parts, so
And
he
he
dies.
dies.
Yeah.
You know, he died a quote-unquote
So
human.
there's a lot of running themes in this, and one is like, do you do whatever you can to survive? Like,
Yeah.
are you willing to throw away your humanness to survive? And
Yeah.
then there's a big religious undertone as well.
Yeah.
Where they keep trying to do this religious path because it's like they know, like, it's a good way to control a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this first chapter sets up like almost all of that because you meet Doma, he shows up.
right.
You see that like there are some people like Jose said who are dying. They're both Agni and Luna who are the two kind of main. I don't know. One is the main character. One is like a main figure of a character. So they
Reason to
both
live.
like they're both regenerative blessed, but Agni is so much more fast.
dude, he's wicked fast.
yeah.
And so when you finally see like Doma shows up and he's like, "Hey, any of you guys blessed?" No.
Yeah.
And he fucking burns everybody. I was
Yeah.
like, no.
I was like, wow,
way.
what?
Well, he wasn't gonna burn it. He only realized the cannibalism
Yes.
was happening.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I can't have that."
Yeah.
And like that psychotic look in his
Because he
eye.
says, you guys aren't people. You guys are eating each other.
Which like I kind of understood, which is why I love the first chapter so much. Because I get where Doma is coming from.
Exactly,
Where it's
yeah.
like you show up, and obviously at the point of the first chapter, we didn't know exactly how fucked up the place he was
Yeah.
coming from is.
Yeah.
And so you get the first chapter, and like he's like coming to recruit Bless, like we're gonna take on the Ice Witch. He's really
Yeah.
selling this thing to be
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
heroic kind of venture.
And like, come with us.
Yeah, like it's
And
this,
then
like this
he
is a
does
classic
this shit.
shonen.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, come join the resistance. We're gonna take down the Ice Witch. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then the cannibalism thing gets dropped, and he's like, all right, we're pulling out. Everybody out. We're not accepting this.
Nuke
Oh, by the
this.
way, nuke.
Yeah. Yeah, nuke this.
So fucking good. And like when Luna is like crawling to Agni,
Oh,
and they're both
no.
on
I
fire.
was like, before
no.
she showed up, I'm like, please don't come up. Please don't come. Like, because
so good.
she
You
could
don't
regen.
see her at first, and I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I hope she got away. I hope she's the main character or something.
Well, because before we see her come up and die, he's basically like, oh fuck, my regenerative abilities are fucking kicking in too hard. Like I literally cannot die right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I wonder how she's gonna be. She's just gonna be burnt, and then bam, burned to death, fucking dying.
Because I was thinking kind of a similar lines along Jose, where it's like, oh, does she get like the soul person gets captured, now he's gonna go after her? Like, is that gonna be the whole thing of the story? And it's like, no, like she is fucking on fire. She is not gonna survive. It's like, this is it.
Yeah, and that like I get the live thing. I don't think she realized what she asked him to do.
Oh my god!
And that fucked that kid's life up.
He's constantly on fire, constantly regenerating, and just feeling that anguish every single time.
So across the whole series, like, there's I think like 4 people that tell him to live. Live, and they do not understand like
what they're asking.
They are putting so much shit on Agni. That it's just like this poor guy is like, and
all he wants to do is die.
We see him start as a kid, and it's like he spends like the first 3 years or something on fire. He says like, I was in intense pain, like I couldn't
for
even
a whole
think,
year,
couldn't breathe for like 2 years or something like that.
Imagine that though.
It's brutal.
Fuck.
And like he talks about he would bite off his own tongue just to distract him from like the sort of pain of the burning, and like it was insane. And to go from that into every person, like right when you think I'm finally gonna die, this is it. Live.
Fucking cunt.
Dude, that's so brutal.
The one that was the worst and was one of my favorite characters is Togata.
Yes.
I loved how they didn't show him dying.
Yes.
Like they just like, what's gonna be my last word? Just like having a total moment. Just like,
So
let's just think this one out.
At first, like I was surprised Togata died. Obviously,
I
saw it coming though.
I thought they were both so. I kind of thought we were going to get a little bit of a Game of Thrones sort of situation where we had Togata and then we had the Ice Witch. And they both were doing everything they did because they love movies. Like, both of them were controlling everything because they love movies.
Star Wars in particular.
And it was just like, oh, are they just both going to like see who can like control,
that would have been
Agni
cool.
or Fire Punch like the best and really go at it?
And Togata kind of looked like a less fucked up sleepy or non-sleepy version of L from Death Note, so it could have been like that grandiose chest thing where they're just popping
I
pieces
thought
back.
that's what it was gonna be.
That would have been. It could have gone in so many ways, and it could have been still a fucking good book.
It was crazy, and it's like from the part where he becomes Fire Punch and he just like starts walking. He's like, "I'm going to kill Doma." It's like, I will kill Doma.
But you know what I really like? They kept bringing it up, especially when he became like a god to everyone. He's like, I'm 15 in the brain. Like, I don't like. One, I cannot think straight because I'm on fire and I'm in pain. And I do like how when he doesn't have anything to do, he just is in pain. Like, he really
that's
starts.
Crazy.
And they talk about too how like because he is for all intents and purposes like he looks 15. He was like I don't know what age he was when we first saw him.
I want to say he was
a kid.
probably 20-ish.
After
when he's Fire Punch,
like 8 years, right?
Yeah, he was 15 when we started.
Okay. Yeah, because he burns for multiple years. Like there's a lot of time gaps in here where they're like, 10 years later, this years later. And when he burns, it's I think like a couple or 3 years goes by before he even starts going after Doma.
Yeah. I think he just starts rolling and then he just starts walking eventually. And he's just like, I was able to get it off of my face.
Well, they talk about much later when Togata is kind of like training him, trying to figure out, he's like, I was wondering how he got so buff, and his muscles are constantly tensing up and regenerating because of all the pain that he's in.
I don't think it was when he was
he's
training.
Like
it was when he was dying.
Muscular.
Okay.
I think he's like, wow, this is a lot of pain. What's my last word? This is why he's jacked.
Yep.
But I like that they explained that because he just randomly got fucking ripped.
Yeah, because the guy was like, I was trying to figure out how I could be buff like you, because he talked about how he wanted to get a sex change and he just keeps regenerating. He can't do anything because his body regenerates, and it's like I was wondering how you were able to do that with your regenerative body, and it's like now I get it. It's like I totally get it.
Yeah, I wonder because the sex change that was really sad. Like that was really fucking sad.
Yep.
And I was curious, like, what, like, can they work out and stuff like that and like build muscle, or is it just like
it didn't seem like it because of the regenerative abilities, where it's like your body would just go back to what it was.
I feel like you'd be stuck at that because muscle tears are technically
that's how you build muscle.
Yeah, that's how you bulk up.
It it restructures. So I'm curious if you could, because there was
they live for a very long time. Very long
millennia.
He
lived
what? So Judah was 100.
Yeah.
And then Togata was 300.
Yeah.
And the Ice Witch was 4 digits.
4 digits. So she was like a grand or something like that. She was wild.
Yep.
In terms of literally was like the main bad guy, and then it's like, oh, I just made that up. Like, I'm not really the Ice Witch.
Judah made it up.
Yeah, Judah's
the one who made all of it up. When you find
her family.
Yeah, you're right. It was her dad kind of thrust that on her, but she was like the leader of the version of Behimdorg or whatever the fuck that we know of now.
Did it seem weird? Because like I didn't know she was the highest like in command. I thought there was a king.
It did seem weird, but that was the whole point where it's like, and that's kind of what happened with Doma.
Yeah.
Where you kind of find out where they're like they're kind of imprisoning Doma, and they're like, yeah, he's kind of lost his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But you find out that he did find out it was all fake. And it was
and he kind of came to like terms with the thing he did, and he kind of lost his mind, realizing he killed a lot of innocent people.
Yeah, for nothing.
Process. Yeah.
There's no king. There's no god. There's no eye switch. There's nothing.
And then the worst part is like when he's near his deathbed, he finds out it was a fucking C-tier movie.
I love that part.
And he gets his ass wrecked by Togata.
That was maybe one of my favorite parts where it's like they really want to kill Doma, and that's when Agni's still being a good guy. Like, nah. And Togata's like, well, I hope you fucking know that your main hero or your town is a C-tier movie. I fucking love that.
And your fucking actor was a rapist and shit. It was like, Jesus
so
Christ.
good.
I used to love Tom Cruise.
Oh, I loved all those things.
All the like references, the Star Wars.
I could tell that this guy really likes it's the Star Wars, all the media that he references and stuff in the English. I loved when they were teaching.
Oh my
English.
god, when Bikini Babe.
Dick.
Yes.
He's learning all the fucking proper vernacular. That's all he needs.
So good. And when the chick shows up, who she's not around for very long, the bikini chick that controls like the
bikini
staff.
babe.
Yeah. She speaks English too, and they're just like both cussing. And it's like,
I love how she's like, do you speak English?
Yeah.
You know, that was...
Are you bitch?
Are you bitch?
So good.
It was so weird because it fucking goes from like 0 to 100, and it was already doing that. Like you thought, oh, I'm at 100 miles an hour, and they're like, hey, by the way, we're gonna blow through like 4 storylines in a chapter.
Yeah, it seems like, I would say, a good way. You referenced yo-yo dieting. It's kind of this manga as a whole, where it goes 0 to 100 and then really back down, where it's like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah, what's the life gonna
be? And then it goes right back up.
You go back
into
hyperspace, dude.
It was so crazy because I feel like the whole like tree thing, that whole saga, literally happened in a chapter.
Yeah,
pretty
like,
much.
We're gonna make you into a tree. It was like, okay, cool. So that's how this is gonna end.
I kept reading it, and I don't know about you guys, but it's like it's kind of, I wish I could not do this somehow. I don't know if there's some sort of special program or something, but like when I know how much is left of the manga, it kind of like ruins. Where it's like when the tree thing was happening, it was like volume 4, and I was like, well, I know there's 4 other goddamn volumes of this thing.
That's what was happening to me
and I was just
too.
like, what else is gonna happen now?
Yeah, and it's like, I know it's not gonna be the end, but all the pieces are there. Doma supposedly died in the fire thing. It's like the Eye Switch has shown up. He's doing the giant battle with the tree. He's gonna kill Judah. And I'm like, I don't understand where it goes from here.
No, it's insane. And then they're just like, hey, boom, all the people are dead. Okay, you're just gonna live 10 years by yourself with these people, and then 10 years later, you fuck your sister, and that's when they lost their shit. Like, they have been listening to you. And I'm like, homeboy got one nut in his entire life.
I gotta say, so the whole part with the, him living to, I really did like that. Was a good part.
It was good.
When he lost the
where
fire.
he loses his powers, he lives with Judah, who he's now referring to as Luna, which is...
He grew his arm back.
That whole part
Some
is a little
psychosis,
bit weird.
dude.
He cannot let that go. It's just so weird.
Well, it's so weird because, like, it was cannibalism, and they started, like, hinting at incest, like, because they were going to totally mate. And then she gets burned alive, and it's like, cool, let me just stick with that for the rest of my life.
Can you fuck with Fire Dick?
Well, that they constantly joked about that he wouldn't be able to. He lost his power. So
it's shooting fire semen.
He's good now. But I just, that whole part was really good, and I don't think they had the problem. Obviously, they were listening to them fuck, and I don't think that was the straw. As when she referred to him as Agni, and it was like, ooh, that's not cool anymore. It's like,
oh, brother and sister, what, Agni? Ooh,
they're like, oh, so we're supposed to believe, and then they're like, oh, and she called you Agni. It's like, ooh,
yikes.
She could have called you anything else.
Those people close to Faiapanchi call him Agni. It's like, ooh,
yeah. But I really liked. I agree with you, that whole part, because it wasn't just like, oh, I found a family, and like it wasn't like I found a place and they all died, because I think they're all still technically,
most of them are alive. They lost one of the twins.
That was sad.
And
I think he killed the twin, dude.
And they still have the little girl survive. I think there's like 3 of them. The 3 of them and the little girl that are still alive. So
So they did good. They, like, once he was there, I think he was fine. But I like how he would go to the woods and kill himself. Like, he would literally neck himself and fucking come back. He was like, okay, did the thing. And then he, like, assimilated. And it was, like, a different kind of, like, pain where it was just like, oh, yeah, I'm not on fire anymore.
It's
but
internal now.
I don't sleep. I don't
like,
taste.
It's like, and I don't deserve this. Like, because especially all the guilt of when he first goes to Behimdorg or whatever, he basically, for all his birth, lights the whole city on fire. Like, the whole
a lot of
thing
people die.
He doesn't try to. Like, he's just punching the fuck out of these other prisoners who were, like, extreme blessed.
But because of him, he definitely
Yeah, he just
like, how many do you think
everything.
I killed? Like a couple thousand.
No,
a couple hundred.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that great
They
though?
got out though. They got out. You're fine.
Yeah, it was wild. Like that's one of those 2-page spreads where he gets punched through the buildings and then just the buildings are combusting.
Yup.
It's just like,
And I like how it's Doma's power, and everyone still fears the fuck out of him because like Doma is. I feel like Doma should have been one of the locked up people, like with the other super blessed.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he does get locked up, but it's
well, I imagine so. I kind of picture the thing with Doma where it's like, if he was a normal person, like obviously he was very high ranking in this whole religious kind of cult, we'll call it. That's the only reason he was even still alive. I imagine they would have fucking killed his ass.
Oh, yeah, right away.
One, he has a super OP power, and then he's also now going around trying to convince people that, everything is a farce. They shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So that's why he was locked up, and they probably just felt bad because they were close to him, so they kept him alive.
Yeah.
But they kept him as a weapon too. They would bring him out. So like if somebody was acting up, it's like, Doma him. Yeah.
They let him come out when Agni first showed up.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah,
hey,
they did, yeah.
Like have Doma come out.
Dude, him showing up so quick, like, was what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, I
you're
thought it
gonna
was
see
gonna take a lot
Doma?
longer.
Yeah, no, he just sees him, and it's
then
like
when he thinks Doma died somewhere,
that was.
I was just like, oh, he like got his revenge, but didn't really get that face-to-face confrontation that he wanted.
I kind of liked that. Like once we found out Doma, I did like what happened with Doma eventually.
Yeah,
but
after.
when I did hear that, like, oh, like Doma, like he died, like he was in the cage,
Yeah,
and
he was
I was
written
like,
off.
I
I was
kind
just
of
like,
like
wow.
that because, like, what does he do now? Like,
Yeah,
he,
exactly.
He didn't get that payoff that he's been wanting. Like the whole thing, I'm killing Doma, I'm killing Doma, I'm killing Doma, and then he accidentally did it off camera
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
It was super weird. This is what it reminds me of Poon Poon is you brought it up where he was so like Poon Poon was so obsessed with like sex and getting sex that whenever it happened it wasn't good and like he like was completely blindsided by all the other stuff. Like he had a good life technically by the end of it. I don't think Agni was going to have a great life. I think he was living fine for a while. I think it came back to him, which is kind of unfortunate.
Well, like,
but
what do you think the whole thing was with like, so like he did have like an okayish life within in that 10-year gap, but he kept seeing visions of Luna and himself as back when he was actually himself.
Yeah.
And they were constantly like telling him to like fuck people up.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
lying. They don't like you. They're acting as like, don't trust them.
That was remember like the dark spot in Poon Poon like that. It was like the fucking sadistic.
Like, why does he
thoughts.
keep seeing his like he loves his sister like and his
Yeah.
sister's the one that's like live like don't fucking do
But
that.
then
And
she's
he-
the one like twisting his mind.
Yeah,
and I was
it
just
was
like,
so
aw.
weird. It's
I'm
like-
gonna tell you right now. I can guarantee you, it's just like there's some textbook definition in psychology where it's like you pin your like dark thoughts to a specific person, and it's that.
Because like it would change from like him like the younger version of himself to Luna, the younger version of himself to Luna.
Yeah.
And it was like the younger version of himself. I kind of got like when he decided to rescue the prisoners when he first like went back to like
that was great.
Like he saw his younger friends because that's what he should be doing, but he's been fire punching so fucked up that he forgot that. Like he wants to save people, doesn't like seeing people die.
And
but
it
now
was
it's
so
like
good.
in the second half of the book. His younger self is like, well, just kill yourself then. It's like, just kill yourself. Get rid of yourself. Like,
did
what? It's like,
And what was so fucking weird is you brought it up earlier is like how it was gonna go into shonen and it's like I'm gonna be a hero. And it's like, dope, he's gonna do it. We're finally
the whole
picking
time
it up.
she's recording, she's
And
like,
then
you'll be my
everyone's
protagonist.
dead.
Yep.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
I think the part where it kind of crossed the line for me, where it's like he saw the redemption, was the Doma part.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
like he decided like, oh, I'm gonna let Doma live. Is like he's taking care of these like however many little
17
kids.
He realizes that he's doing what he's trying to do, which is protect the people he cares about.
Which is the only person in the entire manga that realized there was a cycle.
Yep.
Because like what fucking Sun at the very end became the same Behemdorg bullshit where he was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Doma was the only one who was like, they don't need religion, they don't need any of this, they need education. It's like
Exactly.
you're gonna fail at what you're doing because you're not educating them.
Yeah, and I did like how he explained the whole cannibalism things. Like, as soon as they don't have you, like, what are they gonna do? They're just gonna eat each other.
themselves, kill each other.
Like, so you did nothing.
Yeah,
and like
they'll either eat themselves or they'll go after other villages and like, try to eat them. And it's like you fucked everybody. It's like there's nothing you could do. And that's why I liked like the whole Tagada thing when like she was gonna leave.
Yeah.
He tries to go. It's like we need you. It's like you have like all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
But then it's like it never happens. It's like it's like shortly after that she's done so.
Yeah, that was rough because it just happened like right after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the part that like fucking blew me away, I felt like I skipped a chapter, is when he was getting told by Luna in his fucked up mind, like, oh, go kill him.
Yeah.
And then he just does the fucking like pull down the face kind of thing, and then the next chapter is his hand through Doma.
Loved whenever he would like cut off his own face or something to go back into fire punch mode.
It was litty.
That was so fucking good. It was just
wearing
like
his mask.
because like the one human part of his face was like
Yeah.
the only thing he had left.
It was like a fucked up, jacked up Todoroki going around. I was like, I'm all for it.
That could be Todoroki's worst if he was all Endeavor.
Yeah, if he was like fucking Endeavor buff and he just had the same flame thing going on, I was like, yeah, boy.
It was like they do a really good job of like taking this character with his like Agni / Fire Punch, where he does really want to be good.
Yeah.
And it's like you kind of relate to him where it's like he's fucked. Like it's not a
he's
good
just-
spot. He doesn't want to be alive. He wants to go back to see his family, but he's being forced to live.
Yeah.
And he's in intense pain.
Yep.
It hurts to breathe, hurts to think, everything hurts.
Yeah.
But he still tries to do his best, try to protect everybody. Now he's thrusted in the position to be a god.
Yeah.
Everybody looks up to him.
And it's kind of sad because he didn't ask. Like, it wasn't
didn't
even
ask for
thing
any of
he
this.
asked for.
Yeah.
He literally was just trying to find Doma, and Sun came along and was like, save me. And he's like, oh, God, I gotta fucking save the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like he's really trying his best, but it's like he just can't. And it's like you don't understand. Like I kept trying to think. It was like, how do you help people? Because they do talk about like I think in one of the last volumes, they're talking about how do you know who you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, your first like reference of who you are is from what other people think of you. It's like that's how you know who you are. It's like when they touch you, they feel it's like, but he can't be touched. You literally cannot be touched. And it's like you can't go around helping people. And it's like he wants to. It's like I cannot touch you. It's like I physically cannot do anything to help you. So he
There's
has to
like
be this
one portion of his face you can touch.
Yeah.
So he has to be this figurehead, and even to the point where it's like people are finally able to touch him, they die.
Yeah.
And, it's like it's just it sucks. It's like you can't do anything, and when he finally loses his powers, he finds out. Like we talked about, he can't taste, he can't sleep. Everything about him is fucked.
He
It's
starts
like because
I
he's been
wonder
on
why
fire
that
so
was.
long.
Yeah, I think it was just
Yeah,
because
he's just
burned.
permanently damaged.
Yeah.
He started pretending to like smile. He started pretending that like eating was filling his stomach.
That's what was so
and I was like,
sad,
bro,
too.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like he went through all these things just to come back to being a human, and he's just dead on
And
the
that
inside.
little bitch ass fucking kid has Agni's goddamn fire, and she's like, "Get away from my mom!" Blap.
But see, I thought that part was really good, and I think
I did
it goes
too.
full circle for me at
I
that
think
point.
Agni knew what he was doing at that point, and he was like, so the whole thing with the masked man showing up, and I was surprised about like Nanetto that she kind of like
She stayed alive the
stayed
whole
alive,
time.
she stayed
yeah.
alive the whole time, which I liked her a lot. She was kind of like a very decent person all the way through, was like trying to help for the best. But then she does like some weird fucking right-hand turn right at the end where she goes up to basically visit Agni first. And it's like, hey, heads up, they're going to be coming for Judah, a.k.a. Luna, who you're calling now.
But she was trying to make it so that he would hand her over without a fight.
Yeah, but what I'm getting to is so she was very nice the whole time, but then you find out like, oh, I planted bombs there when I went there earlier because I know he ain't going to give her to me. So it's like, fuck that.
Yeah, and I would have just loved like, oh, we planted the bombs, but he actually did give us Luna. Like,
What do I do now?
fuck.
But it's like she was such the voice of reason the whole time, which is like, listen, I'm not letting everybody die, so I have to do this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
And-
he's just a normal person now. He's got fucking nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like being a regenerative person is the way to fucking go, by the way. The way to go.
They glossed over one thing that was super weird for me, the artificial spinal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They
yeah,
just
They didn't
full-
talk about it
And
too
they
much.
kept referring to that as like a thing of the past. So like that was a thing like the previous generations would use.
Yeah.
But it's like this one, I guess they're just artifacts that some people get to use. They don't ever.
They didn't do anything because fucking Tagato just wrecked
She
face.
ripped
They
them
make
up.
you stronger from what I could tell. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a thing that maybe regenerative people use to get stronger. Is they get these
Oh,
artificial
that makes sense because
spines in them.
they won't be able to get stronger.
I don't know if that has any relationship, but they
That
do
could be.
kind of weirdly talk about that. The masked man was a badass, by the way. The guy
dude
who
in
could
his
manipulate
underwear?
the iron, in his
Yeah.
underwear. He was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was wearing like that reverse bike.
That was Old
helmet or
Man
something.
Logan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
And it's like he kind of shows up and he's like, "Oh, I'll fucking take on Agni. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it." And it's like they basically forget he's a badass now. It's like,
Yeah.
and even to the points where it's like you kind of saw him living his 10 years and like going out hunting, he would like snap a deer's neck.
Yeah,
like,
He's
right.
smiling.
And I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
just like he's a strong dude, and it's like, oh, he doesn't have fire, it's no problem. And then you see like I love when they do the fights and they just hard cut, and it's
Yeah.
like you see the fucking gore just everywhere. Like the introduction of Tagata when she goes up on the train,
Yeah.
Just
and
fucking everybody
the
up.
first fight with a regenerative guy who comes down, and then it just cuts, and the train is like fucking smacked in half. There's goddamn poles coming up from everywhere.
It's jarring. It's like I literally felt like I know we were on an official read. We're like, did I fucking skip something?
Yeah.
Like but it's a cool metaphor for like you just black out when shit happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking nutty.
It's
Cool.
so good. And the part like when they do the cut with the Masked Man and the Agni fight too, where it's like they are both fucked up.
Yeah.
And like the Masked Man, he's still alive, surely,
Yeah,
right?
he was alive. Oh, I see what
I
you
don't
mean.
think he was killed.
By the
he
end
was
of the book,
asking
no,
to get
he's not.
killed.
yeah, you're right. But I think he was still alive at the point where Agni was gonna kill him. Yeah, he got asked to be killed, and that's when the girl hops in. And I love this part a lot, where she was like, "I know that you can't taste, that you've been faking the smile the whole time." It's like, but isn't that worth it? It's like, isn't that part like? And I know she wanted basically like him to give up on Luna and like stay with the family because like now the daughter like loves him. She refers to him as Big Brother, which is like another kind of Luna for him.
The whole time he's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Oh, just call me brother."
Yeah. Where it's like now he has kind of like another Luna in this like little girl. But it's like still he's gonna go after this fucking person he thinks is Luna, and he's decided already like, no, I'm dead. Like, don't fucking do anything with me.
But I like how he punches the bitch before. He had like a fucked up smile. That was like the one time I've seen him smile.
But I
too.
think he did it to provoke all of that too.
The horse
I think the smile was like him being genuinely happy. Like when she was talking about that. Like that was kind of what I got, whereas like there was a brief moment where it's like, yeah, you're right. Like it is like I do like you guys.
Yeah.
And then he did hit her once, and I think like that was all like, yeah, I need to be set on fire again.
By the way, so he got set on fire by the kid. There is a point where he goes and kills all the people that were starting the problems, like they were raping the feminists and they stole.
Yeah.
He lit himself back on fire, right?
Yeah. But it was regular fire.
Yeah,
he didn't need to do that.
But I love that part so much because like you think, it's like the fire he has are normally badass. Like it can't be put out until like the fuel itself is
and
like
it just rips everyone.
But regular fire's still pretty good.
That was literally just his costume. He's just like, let me get ready.
If you're walking around a guy on fire, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like, gotta say.
Greatest. I'm like, if I ever make an anime manga, if I ever have a character that can fucking regenerate, I am doing the head grenade. Yeah. Where he locked himself off and you're like, what was that? And it's like, sup, bitch.
Oh, that's right, because he fights like that ice dude.
Or he made like
that
a
was
brick
really
wall.
good. It was ice. It was ice, and they talk about how.
Oh, that's right.
It's like we kept him locked up because they would refer to him as like an accomplice of the Ice Witch. So it's like we didn't like him. It turns out if he's on your
a pretty
side,
cool dude.
By the way, he's dead.
Oh, wait, the grenade.
But the whole thing, so like the big payoff, like where he gets eventually lit on fire and you find out he's got Doma's power as well. Love that as he's walking away, where it's like, hey, don't ever use that again. By the way, that does not go out. And like, so he clearly does like them. And when he goes on his rampage, it's the biggest payoff in the fucking world. When he goes full fire punch form,
just rip.
He starts tearing through people.
That head grenade fucking shook me.
That
was so good.
Shook me to the core.
I was just like, wait, is that
that's
a dome?
Not legal.
He had a couple of really great regenerative moves throughout the whole series, like when he spit up the bullet that was on fire.
Yeah.
He had so many good moves, and just like this is how you like he threw his arm, like he was throwing fucking the head thing was so fucking good.
I was reading that, I was like, that's not legal. You can't do that because it's just gonna. I wonder. So it's one of those like where the head is, that's where it regrows.
So they talk about with normal regenerative people, you cut off the head, you're good.
Yeah.
But there were people like Judah and Agni, who they can regenerate no matter what.
Yeah,
like from the
it's
head,
slower,
you're good.
But
it's like, and they do mention briefly, and it comes into play at the end that you can't aim for the core in the head. Like there's a core where their powers come from, and you can kind of like take them out that way.
Yeah,
which is weird because Agni has been like all kinds of fucked up. And I
like when they just shot his head for a few days.
Yeah. They just kept missing that.
So
little
they do
piece.
mention that, and they do mention that like when you do fuck with their head, they lose their memories, and that's kind of what happens at the end.
Well, when he gets stabbed by the fucking spiky boy, his head gets like fucking split, and he's just like, what?
So that's kind of like you daze them and fuck them up.
Yeah.
And that does come into play, but I love so much. Like they're all leaving, and like Nanetto is like, oh yeah, we got it, we're coming back, and all the soldiers stop and they just look, and the whole forest is on fire, and
I'm like, ooh,
yeah, it's like shit. It's like okay,
yeah. So what did you guys think of Sun?
Okay, Sun turned into a badass.
Fucking
his power was insane at the end.
Thunder God, dude.
When he kicked that first dude, I'm like, what's this scene going on? The next page is him on the other side of the fucking place, blowing a hole through the wall.
His power is like, I can only create a little spark, kind of like light something on fire. Yeah. And then now he goes full fucking Flash God bullshit.
He was so cool.
Trained.
Yeah, he was awesome. And it's like, it kind of sucked because like Sun, even at the very end, he was kind of trying to be a good person. He really was. He wasn't trying to be a bad person.
He was just deranged.
He was just
idealizing
idealizing
even tried to stop
him.
them from taking Judah.
Yeah.
Luna. I don't know what we want to refer to her as
Judd
Judah.
Luna.
It's like,
He even tried to like, no, don't like let them live, like, and we'll just keep doing our thing. Like just knowing he's out there is good, you know?
Yeah.
But then he starts getting swayed, and he starts to believe the own like cultist lies. He believes in it so much, and obviously he was the first one to tell everybody about this god of fire punch.
He started coming up with all of the things where it's like, oh, if you eat the eye, it'll help your eyes.
Well, they talk about like when it was the Ice Witch and Sun, and I don't know what the other guy's name was. That there was like the trio
rando?
of them. Yeah. But they
did that a lot. Where
they were like, oh, we made up all the rules together. It's like,
why are you telling that to me?
They literally made it all up together. This whole Agnism rules and stuff, and he was the constant like, just leave them alone. Like it's fine. We don't need Judah. We don't need you. Like maybe it's fine to be cold. It's like But then he starts downward spiraling into the whole religious cult thing, and now.
Then just starts glacking people.
Yeah, he got kind of like consumed by his own cult, which is weird.
Yeah. I think, well, you know what? I'm just going to go back into this. Probably a textbook thing. I feel like with the Poon Poon author and this guy, they took psychology up to like a master's level, and while they were in college, they also watched a lot of film.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm going to write a fucking book about a guy that can punch fire.
It was like, I don't know. The payoff I really liked as well.
At the very end?
Well, like I'm talking about before we do the massive time gaps.
Millennia, you mean?
Yeah,
yes.
Where it's like he shows up to Sun, and Sun is like, oh, it's like I'm gonna bring you back to be.
He's like, you're back.
But the face part, where he's like, put your face back, like do it, like you look terrible, like I don't like it. He wrecked. Like fucking Agni, he wrecked the fuck out of him.
Yeah. And that's where like the whole thing about losing your memory starts to come. Like he started regressing, where he's like, he goes from like, I know I need to like kill somebody. Is it you? Or Doma? Oh, it's Doma. And then it's like he gets it again. I need to kill someone.
Textbook psychology.
He's like myself.
And
what?
Eventually, he can't remember who he is, but he still grabs onto Sun and like fucking lights him ablaze.
That was fucked, dude.
So good. And I thought that Judah was going to like take away like I don't know, just kind of like take the whole thing like and just like kind of like, hey, we're just all gonna die.
Like let him die.
I didn't know she was gonna go back to do the tree thing again. It was
I didn't expect that either.
I like how they just like, hey, forever and ever, I have this permanent power.
Yeah. Yep. And it was like, so the Ice Witch, we didn't mention gets glacked, and it's kind of a weird character. I don't really.
She did nothing.
Tree growing out of her face and stuff.
Like she clearly had the master plan. The plan worked for all intents and purposes. It fucking worked.
What was her power?
So I think
she had a few.
She had so she could use multiple powers, and that's what she was talking about, and that's what makes me wonder. So she said that there's a specific look of person that shows that you're like from the previous generation, and like you're able to use multiple powers, because apparently the people of the previous generation could use multiple powers like that. And so you had to have that exact look. And so that makes me think Luna was also one of those, because Luna looked exactly like him as well.
So maybe that's why her regeneration wasn't as good. She had a bunch of others.
So that specific type of person was like what they were looking for, and she was like, well, I can't do it to myself because reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you is perfect. And that's where that whole thing comes from, is apparently there's like a specific trait, so only like Judah could really do it. So that's why they had to become the tree. But her plan worked. It was like
it warmed up the earth.
An asshole, but it's like that's the plan they used at the end. It's like we wasted 4 volumes to come back to where we started.
Yeah, you know, it was so sad though, because I liked the whole movie theater bit, like where they kept coming to the movie theater, and I was getting really frustrated every time I saw it. I was like, did he really fucking die? Like, are you kidding me?
No, they just built one.
Yeah. That was at the very end. Was like, I built it. There's no films,
but we built it.
He just sits in there like a dickhead. Yeah. But like the barley field or the wheat field, they're like, oh yeah, so the world's gonna end. You can take the cyanide pill. Pretty much.
Fucking pill.
That was sad.
Yeah. Do you like that? Like, you know, because the memory thing comes into play big time at the end, where like he doesn't know who the fuck he is, and also, now he has no powers.
Yeah,
that's when Nanetta was a bitch.
Yeah, but I do like she did accept, whereas like she could have just killed him. Like he has no powers, doesn't know who he is. She could have just taken him out. Yeah, but she accepts. Fine, I will do this. I will raise him, and like raises him basically as the reincarnation of Sun, which is bullshit. Yeah. And when she's on her deathbed, he's like, "Tell me who I am." Like, I don't know, and she dies before she can even say anything.
Well, she wasn't gonna tell him.
She might have. She might have told him.
I feel like she would have.
Yeah, but it's like, ooh, it's like that's like having to live, like, you know, and that's where the suicide pill thing kind of comes into play. But like having to live the rest of your life knowing you're not the person you were told, and then nobody else knows. Like she was the only person who would have known.
That would fuck with your head so bad.
And the only other place that would have had like records of that shit got burned down because your previous self did that. Like some asshole burned that place.
It's brutal. And then you do find out that like the whole tree plan like obviously works, but it only worked for that spot. So it's like that's where all of like the war and stuff is like people are gonna be trying to take this spot. It's like they found it was kind of the ending kind of felt weird to me. because it kind of came up where it's like, hey, we have all these problems now, but they're all things that we just happen to find that other people happen to find from the previous generation also. And now it's just like, it didn't seem like it had any relevance to like what we witnessed. It's like, oh, the previous generation had this toxic bomb that can just wipe out everything.
Yeah.
Both sides found it. Well, somebody's going to sit. And then it's like,
we're going to use it.
We found this pill from the previous generation that can kill you because...
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't see the previous generation.
I was like, okay. It's like, I'm glad we're finding all these cool shit now all of a sudden. It's like, just solve all of our problems with the previous generation.
Because did they establish a timeline? Because it's Earth, right?
Yes,
it's
Earth.
Did they establish like a timeline? It's like a couple hundred years ago. Because I think
so
even
they do
Tagada...
mention, like, so yeah, Tagada does mention she was able to see like the very tail end of like what the previous generation was. So that's at least 300 years ago.
Yeah.
But they don't ever talk about like what the date is or anything like that. Like if that's what you're wondering, they don't say like where we are in Earth timeline.
Yeah.
But it is Earth, and it was like I guess at one point everybody got abilities.
I feel like it's probably like 300 years like our time.
But they also say that the sorry.
No.
They also say that the Star Wars ended on a cliffhanger. So
you're right.
What Star Wars? What world did we end on? Which Star Wars has like? It's gotta be like either. It either has been the 5th one, I don't know, the 5th one.
I feel like it's an alternative universe,
or the 8th one. You know, it has to be like one of like the penultimate ones. You know?
Yeah.
I was curious about that one too, or maybe they just didn't like the ending.
They're like, nope, Kylo Ren isn't supposed to die.
Yep.
Well,
because like that's what the moment I read that I was like, what? Like because
that's where I got thrown
he
for a
wasn't
loop.
alive for 4 through 6, and he only knew about 1 through 3.
You mean the fire ones?
You mean
okay?
No, hold up. But 3 was a cliffhanger, technically.
Yeah. That would be weird.
That's some weird delusion. But I feel like they referenced like 2200 AD or something like that. Like there was a time frame. Like so, I want to say it was our time. Like was the previous generation, and like in this.
I mean, it would make sense just based on the Star Wars reference.
Yeah,
like, that would just really make sense. That is like an
Yeah.
alternate time where some shit happened and everybody got abilities somehow. That would make sense to me.
When was this written? Like, let me check. When was it published?
It can't be too long ago.
But the ending with the whole movie theater thing, and you know, they find the tape that they've referenced that
and he watches it.
Yeah.
And he can kind of finally see this
2018.
character where he doesn't know, like, wow, he's on fire the whole time. It's like the story doesn't make any sense.
Because it says you can't hear him. You can barely
there's no
see
sounds,
it.
black and white. Which was like the manga.
That was after he or after Nanetta died, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's when he realized that was him, right?
No, he never realized
that it was.
So
him.
he's watching the movie and he's like, I think one of the last things we see the movie, it was like, it's like it's not really that great. It's really vicious and brutal, but it's like I don't know why, but for some reason my fist was like clenching, like from watching the movie, and that's kind of like the last thing we hear of the movie, and that's when we start going into the millennia pass, another millennia pass, and
took such a toll on my mental psyche in the middle. I was like, because she was just up there, like it got like again the psychology of it all was like. Yeah, I forgot why I was here.
Yeah, she she was in the tree, and the tree eventually is attaching itself to other planets.
Yes, that was the game plan always from the Ice Witch. Was we basically sacrifice all of the other planets, we steal their energy to heat Earth.
Yep.
Which was wild that she had that kind of like. What did this previous generation have, dude?
Well, when you reach the 4 digits, you become pretty knowledgeable.
Exactly, it had to have been way further on than that, because because
totally.
like because she would have been like from ye old times.
Yep.
Yikers.
Yeah, it is weird. The timeline's weird, but yeah, going like when she's in space and like to the part where she is like, I don't know why I'm here, but I see this vision of a guy, and it's
she's like, I don't know his name,
and then, like
but
another
I wanna,
millennia
make sure
goes
he's
by.
okay.
It's
like stop! I didn't ask for this.
It's like. I really don't know why I'm here. It's
the one that fucked with me, it's like, I realize that if I just blow myself up with my powers that I could fucking escape this, but I've already thought that thought, haven't I? I'm like,
and like, I like the one where it's like, another millennia goes by and it's like, the thing below me has been destroyed. It got hit by something a long time ago.
It made me want to go back and start looking at what Earth looked like every time they showed it. Because it was like, they showed the tree getting bigger and bigger, and then the next scene's just fucking rubble.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, okay. And then you finally see like Agni is like, hey, I've been floating in space.
He's like, I made it.
What's up?
So they both die at the end, right? Like that's.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think that's both them. Like they finally kind of have like a moment of like recollection, and they both like die.
Yeah.
They bring it back up where they say that we couldn't sleep most nights or whatever.
Yeah.
But this one particular night we ended up talking, and then they bring it back at the end. and they're like, oh, we talk some more at the end of the whole story.
Yeah, and then they sleep, and the last thing we see is them both in the movie theater. So they died.
I hope to God they did.
I'm gonna say yes, just because they reference death. What is death? Oh, it's a movie theater you go to. You
So
buy your
beautiful.
popcorn.
So
No sodas because you're gonna have to pee. And I'm like, oh, you got me.
Don't agree with the caramel popcorn. I'd be pissed if I show up in the afterlife and it's goddamn caramel popcorn.
you have to get it. Dude, I love
Be
that.
like, fuck this, send me to hell. It's like, I don't want to be here.
It's like,
what would hell be?
you could
It's
tell
like
they
butter popcorn. So
you could tell they very much liked Star Wars because they start Star Wars with I think it's the sunrise on Tatooine, and then it ends like the original trilogy with the sunset on Tatooine.
Oh,
wow,
I didn't know that.
I didn't realize that either.
Thank you.
Big movie buff. Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm gonna have to go back and look
So,
at
I mean,
that.
anything else you guys want to kind of say about it? I mean, it was a wild ride all the way through. There's a lot of, like, minor characters we meet that kind of, they die very quickly.
You like him for a split second, and you're like, oh, cool, boom, never mind.
I
mean, Bikini Babe.
I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
She had
great.
an eye patch.
Oh,
I
so
know. I
hot.
like girls' eye patches, gotta say.
I like baseball bat dude
Yeah.
had like one he could deflect bullets with a baseball bat, but his actual abilities I can see into people's hearts.
He was
Yeah.
a badass.
He was a badass until you see him fucking dead, and you're like, oh, what the hell
like,
happened?
His
Ooh.
whole village got glacked off
Yeah.
that tree. The first
Yeah.
tree, the whole village
That
got
tree
glacked.
was some
Blew
bullshit.
everybody up.
But I was mad with the whole reincarnation of Sun situation too until the very end. We're like, oh, my name's Sun. Oh, my name's Luna. I was like, Sun and Moon. That's how we're ending this shit. You're gonna do that to me, and I almost feel like because Agni I think is just fire, right?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Agni Kai, boy.
That's what the entire time just Agni Kai was in the back of my head.
Were you waiting for the dragons to show
Just
up?
something,
Like-
man. The Millennium
Sozin?
part could have. I was waiting for it to turn into like Eden Zero or some shit and see a dragon floating by.
They both go off into space at the end.
Yeah. I'm gonna become the Demon King. Oh, thank fucking God.
But yeah, it was worth. Totally, I would recommend reading Fire Punch.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 weeks from now, we're moving on to a new series. Fire Punch is obviously done. There's nothing else to read on that one. So definitely check it out. If you want to read along with us for the 2 weeks from now, so that'll be the second Monday from now, we will be reading I think it's just hit volume 4. It's called The New Gate.
Oh.
I've never heard of it myself.
I've heard of the Old Gate. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so
I
there
heard
is,
it's on the Viz Media app.
there is actually an anime called Gate. There
And
is-
Steins Gate.
Is there?
They're in Steins Gate.
Do we have Fire
No
Gate?
relation to either of those as far as I know.
Gotcha.
And I tried to figure out if there was, because it's called the New Gate. I tried to figure out if there was a regular gate. I'm like, is this like a remake of something? Like, what is like the New Gate?
It's the proclaimed third season of
I was just
Darker
trying
Than Black.
to see like what's like a new series that just hit volume 4. Like, what's something that we could like
Yeah.
check out that's like just hitting that mark. And this came up. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I read like the description of the first one, and it's basically Sword Art Online, where it's like there was this game that turned into like a death battle sort of
Mm-hmm.
situation, like Sword Art, and the main character beat it and like freed everybody. And then all of a sudden he finds himself back in the game 500 years later. So like the game has advanced 500 years and he's back in the game.
Oh, what?
That's all I know about this one. So
Okay.
it's called The New Gate. It's got 4 volumes currently published in a physical print. So that's what we'll be doing. So check those out. Pick them up if you want to read along with us. Don't know anything else about it. So that'll be
You don't
interesting.
know if it's ecchi, you know, like the request.
I mean, that's
I
more
know
than you
fucking
knew about
nothing.
Fire Punch.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
I think
we
last
just knew
time
the
you were
name.
just like Fire Punch.
So definitely join us back then. If you have any suggestions, of course, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. We'd love to know because we just kind of hop all over. We just kind of do whatever we want.
Give
so
us
you
something
can
funny.
follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Weebs Dealer. You can message us there as well, just to stay up to date with what we're doing next. And we will see you guys 2 weeks from now if you're only hanging around for the Manga Book Club. If not, we have videos coming out almost every day. So we'll see you then. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching.